See Me. See My Ability, the podcast of the ARC, Southern Maryland. Guest speaker, Calvert County-based speech-language pathologist, also a board-certified behavioral analyst, Jennifer Bobbitt, the owner of a business called Kids Communicating, visited our Waldorf office to teach us how to break through and communicate with some of our quiet, non-speaking clients. There are several reasons why finding a way to communicate with our nonverbal friends is a good idea, and I talked with Jennifer about them. Parents know the value of drawing out words from their children.
They want their kid to communicate with them so they can understand them and they can decrease their frustration. I think teachers, educators, anybody in a school system, in an institution like ARC, anybody who works with other people's children or learners that have developmental disabilities, what can they gain from it is, this is what I see in the school system. I see teachers who are frustrated because the kids are frustrated. When the kids are frustrated and they don't know how to communicate, then the educators get frustrated. And then coming to work is frustrating. And then it's a battle over we have to teach them these educational goals, but yet they're so frustrated they can't communicate their wants and needs. Where's the middle ground? So getting in a classroom and teaching educators the value of manding for items they want, manding for a break, manding for information, manding for attention. When you put all that in, all of a sudden you see this very different vibe in the classroom. People are happier. The teacher is less frustrated because the child is communicating more. Therefore, they can get those needs met easier because the child is communicating.
Manding is a word you'll be hearing a lot. M-A-N-D-I-N-G. It's derived from the words demand and command. Most babies and children mand all the time, crying, for instance, when a diaper needs to be changed, or when they're hungry, thirsty, or tired, or they just don't want to do things. Now, as you age, you learn to use words and your voice and develop a vocabulary. If you are an individual with developmental or intellectual disabilities, you may not develop the ability to use words, or you have forms of autism in which the sound of your own voice hurts. You may be too shy to talk, or you have physical inabilities to speak, and you tend to develop mands, which Jennifer Bobbitt says, are maladaptive, like aggression, screaming, tantrums, self-injury, or hurting others.
I visited a classroom in Pennsylvania, multiple classrooms in Pennsylvania that Patent runs. They took over some classrooms in Pennsylvania to run the Verbal Behavior Project, where the emphasis is on verbal behavior, manding. That's what they use in their classrooms. And there's a huge emphasis on manding as an initial skill repertoire and using the mands to get other skills.
Patten, P-A-T-T-A-N, stands for Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network. The organization is a leader in speech pathology and helps credential behavior scientists like Jennifer. It's where she learned to teach manding by using specific American Sign Language signs. And Jennifer says she's not truly conversant in ASL, but just knowing some signs will help you in so many ways, including getting a learner to make better eye contact with you.
And going into those classrooms versus going into a classroom where that is not being used is like night and day. When you go into a classroom where manding is the utmost important thing that is being taught and being used with the learning of letter shapes, numbers, colors, whatever. It's, to me, I was like, why aren't we all doing this? Why are we not all doing this? These teachers, the retention is amazing. They don't go anywhere. They stay in these classrooms for 20, 25, 30 years. They love their jobs. The kids are moving out of special education to integrated general education, to full general education eventually, a lot of them, because they're starting so young. The classrooms are so full. People are moving to these districts, buying houses. There's so many people living around these schools that are adapting these programs that there's a waiting list now. And people can't even put their house on the market because people are putting flyers in mailboxes saying, if you are planning on moving, please call me. because they want in that district, because it's so effective. It's so effective. The principals are so happy to have the programs in their schools. When you go into a school district and principals are like, oh, I don't know if we can take on that self-contained special ed class. There's a lot of behaviors, and you get that negative vibe of like, oh, it's a burden, or like that we're going to need all this extra work. But when you go into a school where the principal comes out and meets me, shakes my hand and says, I'm so happy to have this classroom here. I can't tell you how many great things have come from having verbal behavior in our schools, and how, the whole school has learned how to work with these kids and interact. Kids from other classrooms on the playground. Manding being used from the moment they walk in the door until the moment they go home. On the playground, the difference is astronomical. I'm not faulting teachers who don't know otherwise. If you've never learned, then you don't know what you don't know. But when you go into a classroom and you see every opportunity being taken, it's life-changing. You're on the playground and there's teachers, there's one doing chalk and there's one doing bubbles and there's one doing water play, and their goal is they're clicking away. They're working on manding, versus a school maybe where recess is recess and the teachers stand and watch and make sure you're safe. And those kids are playing on the playground and they're running around and they're getting their exercise, but in those 30 minutes, what's the goal? Is there a goal? Or is it just a break?
Talk about using American Sign Language.
Well, I use a lot of internet. I have a book and I look things up a lot, but I try to use just a one sign at a time mentality. I know all my animals. I know all of my colors, shapes, letters. I can fingerspell because I know the alphabet, because I had a learner that made me memorize the alphabet and sign, because that's all she wanted, was to watch me sign the alphabet. So I learned from her how to sign the alphabet. But I'm not an ASL user in the sense I can put words together and make sentences, and it's more like a lot of nouns and a lot of verbs and some adjectives.
So it's nothing to be intimidated about. No.
And I really stress that. People get very intimidated when I mention sign. Sign? I don't know sign. My wife doesn't know sign. My husband doesn't know sign. Her teacher doesn't know sign. I'm like, it's okay, because we're all going to learn together. She's going to learn a sign while we learn a sign. And it's going to be, this is the other thing I always get. Well, when they're out in the community and other people don't know the sign, how will they know what she's saying? I'm like, but she's 3 and she's not going in the community alone right now, right? So you're with her and you know what she's communicating with you, what she wants. When they get older, we'll cross the bridge when it comes. But in this day and age, I lived in Frederick County. The Maryland School for the Deaf was right there. Everybody signed in the community. But there's a lot of adaptive stuff nowadays. If you go into a restaurant and you are a nonverbal person, they can pull out a menu. They can have you point. They can, I think nowadays more than ever, people are very sensitive to all different kinds of communicators and learners. And when a learner is ready to go out into the community and ask for things independently without the assistance of a parent, there's a training process for that. And they have a device and they learn how to use their device and how to show somebody that device so that they can get their wants and needs met. So little guys aren't doing that yet. So we really just need to worry about who's in their immediate circle: grandparents, parents, siblings. Nothing more exciting than when a sibling wants to be the teacher with their sister or brother and wants to learn those signs, and then I give them the job this week. I want you to go home and I want you to make sure that when you're playing, you're making them sign for what they want. And they are so proud of themselves, and they'll come back and say, he signed for the cars, he signed for the balls, I had him do this, and it gives them a role in this whole weirdness that's happening. Maybe they don't understand why their sibling isn't talking. Maybe they're too young to understand what the disability is, but it gives them a role, and it helps them, interact and play. I have play groups where it's half typically developing children and half developmental disabled individuals in a play group. The typically developing children, most of the time they were my kids or my friends' kids that I would have come. I would talk to them first and I would tell them their job is to earn coins or stars or points. And every time you get one of my learners to man to you for something, whether it's move or for an item or for a turn, you get a point. And I'm keeping track of you. And then at the end, we add up your points, and they were earning prize bins. They were earning, things for getting those kids to mand. And so I was putting it on them and watching and into helping them interact, because essentially we really want these kids to be manding with their peers.
Right.
More so than adults, because they're with peers in classrooms.
Right.
And the intimidation is huge on when you go into a classroom, peers don't know how to interact with kids who don't know how to talk. But when you teach them, it's just like you do it, but they're doing it with their hands. Oh, now they're learning sign. They're learning how to teach kids to communicate. They're earning points for being a good teacher and a good helper. It works.
And they're learning not to be discriminatory.
Right. And they love it.
Nobody's going to get bullied because of their development.
When they understand what's going on, they just embrace it so much better than when they don't understand. When kids don't understand stuff, I think they act in a way that, it's not nice. Can be not nice. Oh, something wrong with it. That kind of stuff. And then when you teach them how to help and have these buddy systems and have these things, and so Capital Elementary did a great job at that when I was there. They would have buddy systems with kids in the self-contained special class, with the gen ed class, and at recess or Special Olympics, and they did field trips together, and they always had their buddy. My daughter was always a buddy because I worked there inadvertently, and my kids have been around kids with special needs their whole lives. It's in my home. My clients love my kids. It's almost like a reinforcer they earn at the end of the session to go say hi to my kids upstairs. I have one little boy I've been working with since he's 2, and he is now in, I want to say 5th grade. So how old are you in 5th, 4th
11?
grade? 10, 9 maybe?
10 going on 11.
So since he was 2 and now he's 9, he's fully included. He only comes see me once in a blue moon, but my goodness, I'm chopped liver. Where's Emma? Where's Cooper? Where's Fisher? Can I say hi? Can I go upstairs? Can I go say hi? And I'm like, I'll text them to come down. And then I text them, and he's like, I hear them. They're coming. And then they come down. He's like, he's so excited to see them and to talk to them and ask them, what are you doing? Are you driving a car? Are you going to school? What do you do? Like, questions. And he loves my daughter. Play a game with me. Play a board game. Play this. And she'll be like, okay. And he just is so motivated by interacting with my kids, and because my kids get him and they get his quirkiness and they get everything about him, and he feels it. You know what I mean? He feels that acceptance, and he's worked with them in summers, and then I'll bring my daughter down to a session on like winning and losing, because winning and losing with me is not the same as winning and losing with a kid your age. Right? So like winning, losing, teasing, all those fun things that kids do. Let's work through like that kid that's teasing you, or being first, being last.
Getting picked for the team.
Such hard things. Such hard things.
Well, it does affect you for the rest of your life.
He hates team sports because of picking teams, winning and losing, and being first and last. So we work a lot on kickball, t-ball, those kinds of things. But he's like, I just really like to just walk around. And I said, you know what, that's fine. That's your preference. You can do that.
So the question, how old is too old to be engaged in this type of training if you are an individual with intellectual or developmental disability? Can you be in your 40s or 30s?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're in your 30s or 40s and you've never learned how to request or how to mand, you can absolutely learn at any age how to request. Just start with the same principles: motivation, highly motivating items and actions and objects. What are we going to do? Verbal, sign. Start with the most least prompting hierarchy. Teach them that when they sign or say it, they get it immediately. Create that antecedent behavior consequence cycle going where it's I say it, you get it. Reinforcement schedule, keeping it high. I mean, creating these opportunities where they're doing something that they love and they're learning how to get access to that thing that they love without having to wait for someone to offer it. It's really quite empowering for people to realize that they can control their environment by simply asking for something. Now, you have kids that are like, popsicle, and you're like, no, It's dinner time. I love that you asked, but not right now. So eventually you develop that, like the manding monster, where you get them manding like crazy for everything they love when they learn, like I say it and I get it, but then not always. So you say, no, not right now. And you do accepting no, or a wait program, or like a first then program. But, first things first, let's get them asking for things they want, things they love, even things like, I'm thinking of like people who live maybe in a residential facility. You have few choices going on because you have meals given to you typically, but maybe you could work in choices for dessert. Maybe you could work in a choice for drinks. You could work in choices for what clothes you wear that day. And instead of laying out the clothes, let them choose. Are they going to do a red shirt or a blue shirt today? And teaching the signs for the colors, teaching signs for shirt, pants, socks, shoes. You can work MANDS into pretty much any activity where there's motivation behind the item that they're asking for.
Like making a bed in the morning as part of a new routine.
It's a good routine. You can work MANDS into routines, but how would we work a MAND into a routine like making your bed? I mean, unless they needed to ask for another blanket, or they needed another pillow because it was missing or gone, or I don't know how you could work. Different routines color. Could be routine, but a different color. You could work MANDS into, I'm sure there's social times and there's play times and there's board games and there's different activities. That's a really great opportunity for manding, for board games, puzzles, just even social time. Like manding for a person you want to go visit in their room, manding for going out in the courtyard instead of in the, I don't know what they call it, like the playroom or the gathering room. There's a courtyard, there's a gathering room, there's a kitchen, there's maybe different rooms, manding for different rooms, going to visit different staff members is a great way to teach manding for specific people, whether it's a word, their name. You could create a name sign for people, or you have pictures of all the staff and they can ask for who they want to go visit and go give them a high five or go visit and say hi. Manding for calling somebody on the phone.
The point, it doesn't matter how old you are as a staff or as a typical person, you can keep learning how to teach people continually throughout your life.
Hence my CEUs. I have to get this continuing education credits. And what's funny is what we all thought, maybe we had procedures we were doing 20 years ago and now we don't do them anymore because we did more research and we found maybe that wasn't so effective. Let's try this instead. Let's find the research. Let's do the research. And so we're always replacing, always bettering, and always finding a new and better way of teaching. If you're not willing to admit that something you did was wrong or not great and change your behavior, that's a problem. Because I'll be the first one to say, like, I can't believe some of the stuff I used to do because that's all I knew. But until you know better, you don't do better.
Thank you, Jennifer Bobbitt, for sharing so much of your time and her story with See Me, See My Ability, the podcast of the ARC Southern Maryland. I'll put links to her website in the show notes and invite you all to check out resources we have listed on our website, arcsomd.org. We welcome your feedback. Send us an email to info@arcsomd.org or interact with us on our podcast website at Podbean, and give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm Rita Rich.